What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Tribe of Millionaires podcast from GoBundance. I am your host, Jamie Gruber, and today, man, I'm still buzzing a little bit because I just went through an interview slash coaching session with a GoBundance brother, a guy I met a few months back, and who's gotten a lot of acclaim for some of the results he's gotten in coaching guys like Brandon Turner and others. His name is Jason Drees, and he was the guest on today's show, and he went through, I mean, unbelievable concepts like how you treat your business, being in alignment with, or even speaking to your business, how to create frames so that you can operate from that, how setting goals and driving action toward an achievement is the backwards way essentially of doing things. And I'm probably even bastardizing that. Again, I should have filmed this a day later after I let all of this digest, but I wanted to make sure I got the intro out while I was still feeling the kind of the shine of the interaction I just had with Jason. I went fully off script on this. There's no one sheet. There's no GoBundance card game question at the end. I abandoned all of that because I felt it was more important for us to stay on topic. We went past our scheduled time. There's a lot of amazing content in here, learning his story, of course, but then as we go into, I mean, really a coaching session that you're going to get for free just by listening to this podcast. So can't wait for you to check it out. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Like this video, and of course, subscribe to this or any other channel that you're watching it on. Man, that was really cool. So enjoy this interview. Really soak it in. I would suggest you don't do this on 1.5 speed. Do this at 1 or even 0.5 speed. We both talk fast. It won't be that bad. You'll get a ton out of this if you just take the time to really let it absorb. So really, truly enjoy and take a ton of lessons from this episode with Jason Drees. I want to say welcome to you, Jason Drees. What's going on?
Thank you for the invitation to be here. I'm just having a great day. You? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We talked a little bit about weather. You've got the 69 degrees cold where you are, where I'm sitting in 30 degrees and thinking, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it dipped down below in Austin, Texas, below 70 this week, so I had to put my pants on.
Yeah,
jeans on.
That's how it goes. The life of Jason Drees, life of Texans, I guess, in general.
Texans, that's right.
So you are a little atypical in the GoBundance world. A lot of guys are coming in from the real estate side, real estate. You've got relationships with real estate people, but that's not necessarily your path or what you're doing actively or passively for that matter. So yeah. I'm interested to get into that, but why don't we start with, you're a California kid. What are your beginnings like, and take us through today?
My beginnings. That's an interesting question. I grew up in Southern California. My parents always worked. We joke I was a latchkey kid because I took a public bus home from school by myself in 5th grade. But things were different in the 80s than they are now. We had everything we needed. We always wanted more. I grew up kind of in an upper class area. So I was kind of like, I didn't get a BMW for my 16th birthday like a lot of my classmates. I got a job. So I basically have been working since I was 15 and a half because I like stuff. I like having resources. So I've basically been working nonstop all my life. Went to college for engineering. That didn't work out. Dropped out of there. Went into sales. And basically was in technology sales for about 15, 16 years before I discovered coaching. And when I got into coaching, kind of my life changed. And I've been a professional coach now for coming up on 8-9 years.
Engineering seems interesting. The little I know of you, I mean, engineering doesn't match at least what I would envision you going for. So talk to me about that decision. What led you to that conclusion? Why engineering?
Well, it's because I'm good at math and sciences.
Okay.
I was always good at math and sciences. And when you go to high school, like picking a major in high school has got to be the silliest thing there is. Like you have no clue. Your brothers are engineers. You're good at math. Okay, be an engineer. Okay, that sounds good, right? And then some of the engineering classes, civil engineering classes were fun. We were out in the field surveying stuff, but like vector dynamics in physics, I just couldn't get. Calculus, I could raw calculus, but physics, was not my path. It's not my path at all.
Interesting. You're in sales and then you become a coach. Walk me through that bridge. What was what brought you from sales to coach? Was that just one day you quit and hang up a plaque, or what was that transition? Did you get coaching? Like, how did you get introduced to this?
Pretty much every job I've had was sales, other than my first job in high school, which was I worked at the golf course, Diamond Bar Golf Course. After that, it was all sales roles. In 2007, me and my engineer, I was a territory sales manager for Avaya. He was the territory channel engineer. We started a company. We started developing products. So we found, because I knew I wanted to start a business, because I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad about 4 years ago. And that changed. That was the thing that flipped the switch when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in like 2002, 2003. And I wanted to start a business. I didn't know what to start. And then I had an idea for a product in 2007-ish. And we started testing. And it was actually a race car driver cooling suit, like a suit that cools race car drivers, because inside race cars, it's really hot. And we started developing products, and I started a company called 986 Incorporated, raised $500,000 in funding, and I had listened to some Tony Robbins audio programs, Personal Power, and I had listened to those in the early 2000s, and I had a mailer that said, get a free coaching session. So I called in, got a free coaching session, and I signed up for coaching. And I was like, oh my God, that 30-minute call was so helpful. So I wanted to make that business be successful. So, and it's funny looking back how little I knew about running a business back then. Oh my goodness. That's an entire other podcast episode. But I basically signed up for that session, hired a coach. That kind of went really well. That was the end of 2010. And then in 2012, I went to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within. 6 months later, I went to Date with Destiny, and I was kind of hooked. And I came out of Date with Destiny, and I was a coach. Because at Date with Destiny, you get to see Tony coach a lot of people. And then literally 3 months later, I got invited to the Tony Robbins Coach Training Program. And that's kind of where and actually started because I was in coaching at the time. And my coach asked me, have you ever thought about becoming a coach? And this was in probably January or February 2013, right after Date with Destiny. He asked me, have you ever thought about becoming a coach? And that question was like getting struck by lightning. Like it was like, it jolted my entire system. And I knew in that moment, the second he asked it, I was going to be a coach. And it was the first time in my life I was actually excited to learn something.
What was it? What is it about it? Like, what do you like? I mean, you have the benefit of hindsight now. Like, what is it about your personality or your gifts or your attributes that you think created that lightning strike?
I think it was life talking to me, getting my attention.
Okay.
That's what I think it was. I think it was my intuition screaming at me. Because I was always really good at sales, but never really excited about it. So I could be one of the top performers without much effort. And I did it because you made relatively good money. But, working for other people, it's easy to get to with effort, you can get to 150, 180. But getting over 200, especially like 20 years ago, you either had to be top sales guy, but a lot of those companies keep increasing quotas. So it's hard to make money, right? So either you got to be an executive or you got to be amazing at what you do. And I was never a big enough corporate games player to become an executive. I never played corporate. I could never fit in there. So I knew there was something more. I didn't know what it was. But when the coaching question happened, it like rattled me to my core. Like, oh my God, I have purpose in life.
What was the next step after that? Do you open up a coaching business? Do you work for, I guess you worked, it sounds like in the Tony Robbins organization. Like what did that next step look like? And how long was the transition till you were full-time coaching?
Well, I got invited to join the Tony Robbins Coach Training Program in March of 2013. Okay. Right at the same time, we were expecting our second son, Magnus, was due. And we had just moved from the Bay Area to Sacramento because my wife had a preschool, a business she ran from her house. So she closed that business down. And we moved to Rockland, California because the cost of living was like 60% less. So we moved there to lower our expenses so she could stay home with the kids and I could work. And right around the same time we moved, I got invited to join the Tony Robbins Coach Training Program. And then literally a week after we moved there, after she closed her business, I got laid off from my job.
Wow.
And we had a baby due in 3 weeks.
$180,000 a year type of job.
Gone. Yeah.
Wow.
And we just moved. We had a baby due in 3 weeks. I remember asking the HR person who was terminating me, could you guys fire me next month so that I could have the baby under? And she's like, can your wife have the baby early? I was like,
really?
So, obviously not a mom, but
no.
Yeah, it was probably one of the most stressful times of my life. I had something I was super excited about. And at the same time, all of a sudden financial struggle was hit, and my years of working in that 986 startup that ran from like 2008 to 2012, eventually my resources were all gone. So I didn't have much savings. So we were struggling, and then I find out from Tony Robbins that the pay is $30 a 30-minute session. So $60 an hour. So it was an interesting process of like, oh, here's something I'm super excited about, but at the same time, it doesn't pay anything. So I basically started my own coaching business at the same time, because the Robbins business allowed you to do that, where you can coach for them and you can go have Jason Drees coaching on the side. So I went out and I just started going to the Chamber of Commerce and I started selling like crazy.
Okay, there's a lot to talk about. So I want to get back to 986 at one point. I want to talk about running a business. You said there's a whole other podcast. I want to bring that into this podcast.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the beginnings of Jason Drees coaching and coaching with Tony Robbins. So you don't have, I guess you go through a Tony Robbins training to be a coach, but you've never had a coaching client before this first 30-minute session, whatever the first 30-minute session you ever did for Tony Robbins, I assume, right?
No, they basically, I was a client of theirs and they gave me a free session. I was a client of theirs with a coaching contract.
I mean, once you're hired, you hadn't coached anybody before. Whoever the first client they gave you, like that was the first time you coached somebody.
I did close one client because it was in this like Facebook group, but I had no training experience whatsoever, other than going to the Tony Robbins events.
So what was the value proposition as a coach back then for you? How did you coach? What were you coaching? How, what I mean? I'm just kind of curious. You just start out. You've got all this like. Your wife closes her business, you move, you're having a baby, the job is gone, and now you got to coach people. How do you coach people?
And you have to manage your state as best you can and not let your problems come. It's a really, and as a high I disc profile, it's very hard for me to hide emotions. So the bottom line is you have to deal with your shit. You can no longer, your stuff that needs attention, you have to deal with it. You can't hide it in the closet, because in coaching, it all comes up, because I'm not the type of person who can say something and not be congruent, or can say something that's not truthful and be congruent. I can't. So you do the best you can to get in state and focus. And at that time, coaching is really about just goal setting and accountability and focus, right? It's not diving into deep mindset alignment like I do now. Back then, it's really just what do you want, and just helping with goal setting and accountability. That's where it starts.
Gotcha. So you start bringing on clients on your own. How, like, what did that, was it a quick hit? Did you have, 20 clients in the first week? What did this look like?
No, it was a challenge. And I figured out how to network in the Chamber of Commerce, and I figured out how to add value, and I figured out how to like get free intro sessions and convert those to clients. And I was charging like $250 an hour. Not as many as I wanted. But all of that growth was the thing that was really stopping my success. Wasn't my lack of sales efforts or my ability to sell coaching. The thing that was stopping my growth was my financial identity.
Unpack that, please.
Every one of us has a financial comfort zone, and money is literally a frequency of life you live in. It's like your body weight, like you maybe around Christmas time and the holidays, you put on a few extra pounds, and like there's a comfort zone, right? And the pants get a little bit tight. You do a little bit more exercises. We have a natural comfort zone we default to with our bodies. We also have a natural comfort zone we default to with our earnings income, and it's literally a frequency of life that you live in, and you cannot earn more than your financial frequency. And I had a lot of issues around scarcity, limited financial points of view, issues from my past of scarcity, of being raised without a lot of money. And if we tracked my business success, we could literally map my business success to my financial identity.
Interesting. What are some things? Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
I'll give you an example.
Please, please, please. I was about to
in 2000 in 2005, I worked for Avaya. I was a decent paying tech job. Company was just a chaos machine. They literally reorged every year. I've never seen it before. But it was a great company, but I wanted to make more, and I was making about 120. Got an opportunity to interview for another company called Sonic Wall, which was another Bay Area tech company. They sold a different type of tech product, and I was a Cisco engineer, actually, a certified Cisco sales engineer from my previous tech sales days. So it was the job was a no-brainer. It was a lateral position, same exact position, just at a different company. I got referred to that position by a former peer of mine who worked in Southern California. So we go to this interview. I meet the regional hiring director. As we're walking to the interview room, we've never even spoken. He's already introducing me to the new employees as the new guy. Because he took the word of who that guy was, his guy in Southern California, and I was in a similar role as him, so he knew we had the similar skill sets. And if we sit down, and mind you, I would say 90 to 95% of the jobs I'd interviewed for prior to this, I'd get job offers because I'm great at sales and I'm great with people and I'm very influential. And that's just always the way it was. I went into this job interview. We sit down. The first words out of his mouth is, "This is a 200K job." And I'm at 120. And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's awesome." I'm like, "Yes, I'm so excited." And then I proceeded to have the worst interview of my entire life. It was so bad. He wouldn't even respond to my follow-up email. I tried to control him. I tried to force it. I literally just didn't even let him talk and it took me years to unpack what happened. And I didn't unpack this till literally I was a Tony Robbins coach 6 or 7 years later. I realized at the time that I had resistance to people with money. I thought rich people were bad and they were greedy. And I was already making 3 times of what most of my family members were making. And I was concerned that if I started making that much more money, they wouldn't love me anymore. So my subconscious mind fixed it and kept me in that space.
How do you tap into that? How do you find that? Because that's essentially self-sabotage, right? Like you're self-sabotaging.
Self-sabotage. I did it again actually in 2017.
How'd you do it in 2017? Because at this point you're on the up.
I was a coach. Well, I was a coach. I wasn't making a lot of money though. I was still at the 100 and 150.
Okay.
Jason Drees coaching didn't take off to end of 2019.
Gotcha. Okay.
So at the time, I took a job for one of my clients as a chief strategy officer of his business, had a 200K salary, and the role was kind of set up without success. I could have done nothing and collected a 200K salary. But I got involved, I got engaged, did something stupid, and got fired after 3 months because I thought it was a mess. And I talked to an employee about, this place isn't going to work. Let's start our own. Let's find a way out and serve him on the way out and go start our own thing. And it got out and I got fired 3 months later. And I realized and then looking back, it's like financial identity got me again.
This is a really interesting concept. It's not even a concept. It's a fact. This is what happens. People will
100%.
Self-sabotage, set
100%.
themselves to a certain thermometer, right? But it's so hard to see because you used a key word in all this, and that is subconscious, right? Your subconscious mind sabotages this. You're not actively trying to. It's not like it's something that you're even aware of. So how do you become aware of that? How do you tap into that? We're not going to get, you're going to have to go through extreme coaching, I know, to get to this, but just,
well, not really. Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, you can look at symptoms of it, right? Is your income growing? Has your income grown over the past 5 years? If your income hasn't grown over the past 5 years or, consistently growing, your financial mindset is not growing. Most people are going to make what their parents make or a little bit more. That's your default. Your default is like your parents, like how your parenting default is how you were parented. Your earning default is how you were earned. One of the things I've been like when I was in freshman in high school, I got a job at the golf course when I was 15 and a half, worked all summer, saved up $700 with my $4.25 an hour job. And back then you didn't have debit cards, right? And I didn't have a car. So the money just sat in the bank account. I go to the bank at the end of the summer, go to the bank account, expect to check my account balance and see $700. I check my account balance and it says 0. I go home, I talk to my mom. I said, all the money in my account's gone. And my mom said I borrowed it to buy groceries. And she didn't tell me. She just took it because back then you had an account linked to a parent. She gave it back to me on Monday. And I learned in that moment that if you save money, it will be taken. I didn't save money for 20 years. I can tell you fights I have with my wife in 2011, 2012 about saving because I just didn't know why. And it was through my coaching journey I started to unpack that I had a fear that if you take money, if I save money, it'll be stolen from me. And it came from that experience.
Wow.
So I've been very cautious with my children. Like I used to hear we can't afford it a lot. Now, 2013, 2014, we were literally on food assistance from the state of California because I was making so little money. I've had my wife come home and be crying because our debit card didn't work and some very kind woman behind us bought us groceries in line. And so she's went through that and I've went through that. But even when we couldn't afford anything, I've never said to my boys, we can't afford it, not once. Because I understand how powerful financial mindset is. It took me literally 20 years to unpack my financial mindset. And now that I've unpacked my financial mindset, my income is just accelerating like every quarter.
Wow. Okay.
So how do you know if your financial mindset's limited is if your income is not growing?
Yeah.
It's not growing.
I get that. If I'm just thinking through this. So you're like you said, every quarter your income's going up. Is an indicator if in 3 quarters from now you top out and cap out for 2 quarters in a row? Do you look at that then as an indicator that your financial mindset is not growing? Like, is that going to be true again, or is it something that you've resolved and you feel, you know what I mean? Like, is this something that, like, is that the indicator? So if this happens again to you, does that indicate that you've tapped out mindset wise on your finances?
That's no longer the indicator for me. And once you get past that, there's other things that start to slow it. There's other indicators. If my income levels off in 3 months, I would look at it as, is life giving me a break? Or where is life not growing? Because it's like one of the other factors that has also connected with my growth. And a lot of the work I've done with Brandon Turner, he's been a big aspect of my growth when his supporting me early on, and was really my willingness to be visible and seen. So we expand in all areas of our life. Finance is one of it. Once you break 200, 300K in income, usually the your financial mindset is open to expansion. It's usually under one, usually it's under 100, but as you hit a few 100,000, usually that goes away. Then the next factor that starts to slow you down may be your ability to work with leverage in teams. Because once you making 100 grand is not that hard. Making 200 grand takes a lot. Making 250 is hard, right? Getting to 250 is really, really hard. But once you get to 250, you get to 500 just like that. It's just like no brainer. And then a million, where a million comes in, you got to have more leverage. So the people who get stuck at 500 and don't break a million, they're not bringing the leverage piece in. They got to work with more people. And so I've got more people, that component. So there's the leverage piece, there's the financial mindset piece, and then there's also the self-worth piece that can be triggered as it goes up. And then the other piece for me, as I start to become more and more public, it's really my willingness to be open and be seen as a public figure.
What are some things that you do to help people unlock, or what are some things people can do to help start to unlock this, or at least identify it, have awareness around where they've set themselves financially? Are there any tactics that you give to folks?
Well, you want to be aware of your emotions. It's just be aware of what's going on, because I don't really coach the way I was trained to coach. I was trained to coach that says, okay, well, if you want to get you want to become a real estate investor and quit your day job, you got to get some properties, and you're not going to find them on Zillow, so you got to go cold calling, right? It's like, but I don't like cold calling. And your coach would say, well, what if you don't cold call? What kind of man are you, right? So they build up negative leverage around forcing misaligned action.
Negative leverage around force alignment. Okay, gotcha. Yep, I like that.
And that doesn't work. So everything that I do now is around alignment. Success, action doesn't create success. Alignment with success creates success. So the way you start to move into alignment is to become aware of where you're out of alignment. And the way the way you become aware of being out of alignment is the same in all areas of your life. You feel it. Do you feel positive emotion or do you feel negative emotion? Like, we have this guidance system built into us that most people, us especially as men, are conditioned to not listen to. Tough it out. Put in the hours. But I don't want to do that. You've got to do that, right? So we end up following social conditioning over following our internal guidance system. So all you have to do is pay attention to where you have negative erosion around money. Like, for example, I think money is just like, it's just energy, right? And for example, I bought a boat this summer and we want to buy a house, and everybody says like, well, you don't buy a boat right before you buy a house, right? So they say, why not?
Yeah.
Because they're all coming from a place of scarcity where money may disappear. I don't live from a place of scarcity because I don't want to carry that frequency in my mindset.
I like that. I like that a lot.
And the more you remove patterns of scarcity in your thinking, the more money just starts to flow and flow and flow, because it's just a frequency of life.
Yeah, that's, this was I mentioned at the start of the show, you and I having a conversation. You won't remember because I'm sure you talked to a lot of guys about similar topics, but you and I having a conversation when we were together at an event. And you said to me at the time,
I remember it in the Steamboat lobby on the stairs, 100%.
Exactly. And I remember your hand gesture. Like, if you're watching on YouTube, I remember your hand gesture. It was, you said something something along the lines of, most people, and you kind of just said it, think that you have to set the goals to become this success. And then you did this thing with your hands. You said, I look at align with frame. Success, right?
Yeah.
Or frame. Yeah, right. And then the actions take place after that. And honestly, it didn't land when I got it. It was like, okay, that's interesting. But I couldn't get my head around it until one day, 2 months later, I'm sitting down and I'm looking at my calendar for the upcoming week. And I'm like, I'm doing a lot of shit. There's a lot of stuff that I'm doing here, right? Like, but I don't know where any of it, I think all of it leads to something, but like, who am I? Who am I being? What am I aligned with right now? And it was just like Jason Drees. Yeah. That's exactly what this guy just said to me 2 months ago. Is that, am I representing that appropriately?
Well, yeah, right. So I'll do it again. So like, imagine, if you had a piece of paper, I would draw a little circle here and I would call that circle action.
Yeah.
And that's how we think we get what we want. We want the stuff, like Abraham Hicks. Where's my stuff, right? Where's my stuff? I get the stuff from action. That's what we think. Okay, take action. And if we're not getting the action, we want to take different action. We're not getting the result, we want to take different action. Or if we've got a basic coach, it's like you've got action, then you got mindset. So it's like, okay, well, I know if I'm not taking the right action, I've got the wrong strategy, so I need to shift my mindset. I need to shift my mindset to get the right strategy. And that's the way I used to coach, where I was taught to coach. But that's only part of the equation, because you'll never hit the target until you run the right strategy. And the right strategy only comes from a mindset that's in alignment with the target. Okay. And the way you can feel, okay, so the second question is, how do you know if your mindset is in alignment with the target? Well, when you're working on that target, do you feel positive emotion or negative emotion? Those are your indicators of alignment. And what happens with most people, they feel negative emotion and they just try to force their way through. So they continually taking action out of alignment, and that's why they never get the result. A year ago, I discovered that there's another circle. So action, mindset. I'm trying to circle with my hands. I should get some hoops. And then there's a bigger circle.
Yeah.
Some hula hoops. It's called frame, right? It's called frame.
Yeah.
And the way frame is like your reality, but it's also the vibrational frequency of you as a being.
What's going on, everybody? It's Jamie. I'm jumping in real quick here because some people are listening to this podcast thinking, man, I hear this guest, I hear what they're talking about. This whole GoBundance thing sounds pretty cool. I'd love to be a part of that. And I would say to you, if you are qualified to be part of GoBundance, you're a millionaire or accredited at the very least, jump onto GoBundance.com and just put your application in. You'll get on a call. It might even be with me, where we can talk about what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and what it is to be part of this community in depth. Would love to have a conversation with you about that. It's been just so life-changing for me. And for those of you out there that are saying, yeah, sounds great, I would if I were a millionaire or if I were accredited, but I'm not there yet. We've got that now. We've built a program and I run it. I love being a part of it. I left my job for it, called Emerge. and ascend. Emerge is where you got to start. It's a 12-week intensive sprint goal setting course. You're going to get curriculum every week. You're going to get live intervention every week. You're going to get connection with GoBundance members every week. You're going to get accountability from like-minded people every week. Jump into that, kill it, and we invite you to ascend, which is essentially the GoBundance mastermind without the $1 million requirement. And we actually even add in coaching to help folks find their purpose, their mission, their values. It's intense. It's everything all wrapped in one. So again, if you're a millionaire or you're at least accredited and you're wondering about this GoBundance thing and that shouldn't I, just apply. Throw your name in. You lose nothing. All you do is put your name into an application form, you get on a phone call, and then you decide. If you're not yet at that $1 million mark, look at Emerge, GoBundance.com/emerge. And what you can do as well is drop my name in there, Jamie, Jamie, and we'll knock $200 off the tuition for Emerge. Jump in there and we'll get you started on your journey toward being a whole life millionaire, toward getting to GoBundance, whatever you want. People in Emerge, people in Ascend, people in GoBundance all report back often the changes it's made in their lives financially, relationally, and everywhere else. So go to GoBundance.com, check all of that out, see wherever you are, dive into that particular area of GoBundance, and we'd love to see you inside of the tribe. Now, back to our show.
And the reason why I say that is because our bodies are made of atoms. Well, they told us that in 7th grade science class. It's kind of hard to imagine, but we understand that we're all energy, just like this is energy too. It's all just atoms. We also know that life responds to us. We just don't know how. Sometimes it responds well, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we knock on wood and call Murphy's Law and stuff like that when we want to make it respond to us. But what I've discovered is that your frame is what causes life to react to you. So the way our brains naturally work is we think action creates your reality. But it doesn't. Reality creates your action. So because the vibrational frequency of you as a being, like, for example, your mood determines, do you think positive thoughts or negative thoughts? So your thought pattern comes from your frame, which creates your mindset, which then creates the action.
So one thing you said, I mean, I love all of that. And one thing you said in there that was really compelling, I mean, you said a lot of things, but in particular was feeling your energy, how you feel about what you're doing. Do you feel good or do you not feel good? In some ways, that sounds like a procrastinator's dream, right? Like, oh, great, the thing that I've been putting off and not doing, that I just got permission to be okay with not pushing through because it's a negative energy. I like just sitting on the couch and watching TV, right? Like how do you? Yeah. I guess I'm trying to figure, like, how do you know what is something you have to work past versus something like, is it possible to live in such harmony that you're only doing things that truly light you up or that truly resonate with your being, with who you are, with what you're trying to actually do, where you should be going, if that makes sense?
100% it is.
Help me with that.
100% it is. Procrastination is not a problem. Procrastination is life screaming at you, don't do that.
Interesting.
Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't actually take the action.
Sure.
It just means your current approach to it is not in alignment. Because you could go out, let's say you're an investor and you want to cold market deals, and you want to pick up the phone and you feel like you need to sell somebody to find a deal and you feel resistance to doing that. You could also decide to give each person you want a blessing after you hang up and send positive energy their way and literally think that talking to you is a gift because you're going to make them laugh. I'm going to get my dad joke books and I'm going to tell them jokes until they laugh. So even if I bug them for a cold call, I'm going to spend some laughter through their day. And therefore, talking to me is actually a gift. So I'm actually reaching out to a gift because also if I find a property, I'm going to be providing a better quality place to live for a family in need. So I'm actually helping the family in need and I'm adding value to the person I'm reaching out to. And in worst case, I'm going to be super nice to them and send them a blessing. It's the same action. So that resistance and procrastination is misalignment.
Very interesting. Very interesting. That gives us a good.
Yeah. Let me give you an example. I normally don't talk about my coaching clients, but Brandon's talked about this a lot. Like he's talked about his massages. You heard about Brandon's massages?
No, I don't think so.
He does like a weekly massage.
Weekly. Gotcha.
He does a weekly massage and he comes up with amazing ideas in that massage. And one day he and I were talking on the phone and I said, what's the most important thing for you to do next? And he said, get a massage. And he was kind of surprised by the answer. And I'm like, go get a massage. And that became his thought process for doing massages where he gets it's like thinking time.
What did the, if you don't mind, what did the get a massage come from? Like, what was it
It
like the
was
next
it
thing
was
I should
just
do because I had a kink in my neck, or was it the
well,
next thing to do?
it was during
Yeah.
coaching. It was during coaching, and I was like, "What's the most exciting thing for you to do today?" I think he said he didn't know what he wanted to do today. So I'm like, "Well, what's the most exciting thing to do today?" He said, "Get a massage." So that's
So
intuition talking to him. So some people may say that's not taking action. That's actually following all of your guidance within, because life is more than just action around work.
Interesting. So your initial reaction, your innate reaction, that thing that pops up from inside of you when you're thinking about what to do next. It may sound completely crazy.
Yes.
I'm about to go bankrupt, and my wife hates me, and this, that,
Yeah.
and the other. But get a massage pops up. Get a massage.
Yes. Yes. Because you're going to
Understood.
meet somebody out there that's going to change your life. Because so there's also a concept of known versus unknown. Okay.
Yep.
So as human beings, we like the known. We like certain unknown. But let me give you an example. Okay. So let's say you have a new real estate investor. They've got a W-2 job. They want to leave their W-2 job. They read Brandon's books, and they're, what's it, $100 a door, right?
Yeah.
Is $100 a door. So if I want to replace $10,000 a month in passive income, I need $100.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I get $100, I can quit my day job. Okay, and I look at my plan right now, and I'm like, okay, what I could plan out, what I know how to do, I could probably do 2 properties in year 1, and then maybe 4 in year 2, and then 10. And basically from today, I know how to map out a plan to generate $10,000 a month in passive income in 4 to 6 years. That's known. I can map it out right now, right? Now, that person at the same time also knows it's possible to find one deal in 3 months that pays them $10,000 a month in passive income.
Mm.
It's physically possible. They just don't know how because it's unknown. Known, unknown, right?
Yep. Yep.
So most people live their lives in the known. What I do is I live in the unknown. And the intuitive guidance to get a massage is your keys to the unknown.
Wow. Wow. That's powerful. That's really powerful. To your point, yeah, it's yeah, you shuffle away thoughts, you shuffle away intuition in the interest of logic. But like, I like the way you put it, because it's what seems to be known. Like, okay, this is what it's supposed to be, but allowing that inner being to come out and just guide you, put you into the unknown, which can create endless possibility for you, essentially. Fair?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because while you could walk down the street and see this person choking at an outdoor cafe, and you do the Heimlich maneuver and save their life, and he's a billionaire and he writes you a check for $10 million. While that may not be likely, it's not impossible.
Mm.
So whether amazing things in the unknown are impossible or not likely or possible or guaranteed is all dependent on you and your mindset in the frame you're operating in. So I operate in a frame where amazing things like that happen to me. And then they do.
If you go back to, what was it, 2012, 2013, when you lost the job, you're starting as a Tony Robbins coach, you're starting your own business at that point. You talked about how you were learning about running a business, and back then it was, you had no idea how to.
None.
How much of running a business today incorporates, I guess, a couple of the concepts you talked about? Understanding your frame, living in the unknown, and even leverage. Is that are those the things that you didn't understand that meant you didn't know how to run a business then? Or is it something else? Because what I'm hearing is you're on fire since sort of leaning into and discovering, these circles we talked about, frame down, living in the unknown, and then the concept of leverage at a certain point in income. But are those things that people that are making 60 grand or 80 grand should be tuned into now in order to get to 3 or 4 or 5 or to that level? Is that what you would have done differently as a businessman back then? Or I don't know, maybe that's too big a question, but
well, let me tell you the trigger point, the crossover point. I worked with a few other people and started a coaching company in early 2019 called Excel Business Coaching. And me and a full-time salesperson did outbound lead generation for 5 months. The goal was to do high-level business coaching and sell it, $1,000 an hour. I knew I could deliver that because I've done it before, but we were going to build our own. And in 5 months, we didn't close one coaching contract of outbound, cold calling, social media, webinars. And I literally gave up. And I gave up and I quit. And I'm like, maybe I'm not supposed to be a coach. And this was in June of 2019.
Wow.
And the cold caller's like, I don't got anything left. And I'm like, I don't got anything left either. And I gave up, I quit. And I cried again. I've cried a couple times when businesses have failed. And then in the next 4 weeks, something happened that made me really question everything. Was that I had 4 coaching contracts find me off of referral in the next 4 weeks right after quitting. So it was when I quit, everything started flowing. Because prior to that, I was pushing and grinding and pushing and grinding. I went to work for Tony Robbins. I was doing like 60 minutes of incantations today. Now I am the voice. I'll lead, not follow. Like, wow, so wound up. I made everybody around me crazy. I was pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And then when I quit, everything started working. And ever since that crossover point was been me trying to figure out what happened. And that's been what's happened over the past 2.5 years, is me evolving that process and understanding not just how it's working in my, because everything I'm sharing with people is what I've done in my life. I'm literally understanding how I figured out life works and then how to coach it and teach other people. But the thing that is really going to start helping people get what they want is to really understand the basic concept that hard work does not create success. It does not. Alignment with success creates success. And if you look on other podcasts where they interview successful people, none of them know how they created their success. Because if you ask them how they did it, they're going to give you their strategies of, oh, I woke up at 5 a.m. Actually, no, I woke up at 4 a.m. I ate Brussels sprouts. And I hit myself in the balls. What? You hit yourself in the ball? Yeah. What? Tell me that. Oh, well, tell me what happened. Oh, well, I was struggling in business, and one morning my 2-year-old bumped me in the balls with a baseball, and I got a big sale. He did it the next day. I got a big sale, so I started hitting myself in the balls every day. And then you're going to have groups of 50 people getting together and say, well, I hit myself in the balls. Wait. And then you got women putting on fake balls to hit them. That's how. Isn't that personal growth and success, right? It's like so ridiculous.
Great book title too.
Hit yourself in the ball. You don't have to hit yourself in the balls, but because success comes from alignment with success. When your frame is in alignment with success, you will think of the thought. You will have it. So all you have to do, what you want, is move into the person or the frame you want. Follow the process of life, and you will get the result. For example, I am not a billionaire in this moment. If I chose to, I can move into pure frame alignment with being a billionaire. The process of life to receiving it could take 20 years. Right? So alignment happens in a moment, but it's like, are you staying in alignment? Are you following your internal guidance? Are you following your knowing, or are you contradicting it with your social conditioning? Because we are guided.
How do you maintain that? I call it like almost like a surrender mindset in some ways, right? Like, so you've unlocked this. 2019 was the year that you quit and simultaneously started to explode, right? Like that, by essentially surrendering. Is that a fair word?
Yeah. I basically surrendered so much. I stopped working out and stopped doing all that because I went to this extreme of I wouldn't say surrendering as much as avoiding resistance.
Fair. Okay. I like that better, actually.
Yeah.
Avoiding resistance.
And there's sometimes I probably should use a little bit of resistance, and there's times where you start to need to, but it's like, if there's resistance, I don't do it.
How do you maintain that now? Like, do you have an active like routine where is it just innate? Is it just part of your being? Like, do you notice when you start to meet resistance and see, I'm just kind of curious how do you stay in that state?
I've realigned all of the things that take me out of that state.
What do you mean by that? You've realigned
because the question you just asked me was, how do you stay in this new way of being?
Yeah.
Because you're asking that from a point of view that the old way is the default way and it won't change easily.
Yeah, that's true.
That is a frame that you have control of changing. So one of the things we do with clients who first join us in one-on-one coaching or go to the live event, or even in my book, the book is actually going to create the transformation in you. All you have to do is repeat after me out loud. But basically, not thinking change is immediate is part of your past reference and social conditioning. So though that's that's another frame, because your entire perception of reality is based on frames. You have frames about making money. You have frames about creating change. So what I've become very good, I've shifted all my frames. So anything that pulls me out of that is no longer there. And I'm very attuned to other people when they have those presuppositions that are contradictory. So the simple thing to understand is that environment matters more than action. And usually it's the other way around. We focus, especially achievers, oh, work, work, work. No, no, no. Environment is everything, because environment is what creates, like your mental environment is what creates your reality. So if you want what you want, all you have to do is shift your mental environment in line with it. And you could be a brand new person if you want tomorrow. You can change anything. And, Joe Dispenza heals his broken back with his mind, right? We can do anything. And if you can't believe you can't do anything, well, you're in a frame that believes you can't do anything. And then if you can do that, it's like, well, I can, but I'm not worth that much. Okay, well, then you're in a frame that you think you're not worth that much money. Why not? Because if I have more, people have less. Well, then you're in a frame that you think there's a limit about the money in the world. There's no limit of money in the world. It's created everywhere. And then there's like, people are going to feel bad if I make more money. Well, no, they're not. Is it better if you be broke and act scarce? Or is it better if you're a positive example of what's possible, right? It's all frame.
Amazing. A friend of mine recently, my friend Mike, sent me a video of somebody speaking, and they essentially said, if you woke up from a coma, kind of what you're talking about, if you woke up from a coma and were told you were a Navy SEAL in your past life and they wanted you back, like your mindset and what you would do is very different than if you were told you were a piano teacher, right? Like the being is created, the frame is created for that person, and so, to some extent, I'm probably misusing frame.
No, I've used that example before.
Yeah.
Like imagine you make $100,000 a year, and then I hit you in the head with a hammer. You get amnesia. You wake up tomorrow and you say, how much do you make? And I'm like, you make $200,000 a year. You go back to your job. You look at 100,000, 100's missing, and then you'd go find it.
Yeah. Yep. I love that, man. So let's pivot a bit to the book, because the book title is really, really appropriate in what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
What some of your clients have seen. I know at least 2 of your clients who have had ridiculous results and correlate that directly to working with you. Again, won't name. Oh, you've named Brandon, but there's another one out there that we don't have to name either. But Do the Impossible. What's this book? I mean, give us a little bit more than, I guess, that the title, obviously. But what's this book? What do you hope to achieve with this book? And give us a little more detail on when it's coming out and all of that.
So Do the Impossible is my best effort that I was able to create a foundational understanding of this process. Because as I can also imagine that your frame is already shifting just through this conversation.
It is.
Right? So my book is one giant frame shift to get you into the foundation of working with. Because once you get this foundation, you're really getting open. Because what I do as a coach is I help people get open, because I can't make people be anything they're not, but I can help them remove their resistance to success, because most people are resistant to what they want. So this book, Do the Impossible, is really about aiming at impossible things and getting into alignment with them so it happens with ease. And it's designed in a way just like a coaching. So if you pick up the book and you read the exercises out loud, it will create transformation in you. And my purpose with this book was to basically share this process. And it's hard for me to call this Jason's technique, because I think it's the technique. I think it's the process. It's like, I just feel like I've peeked behind the curtain of how life works, and I've dissected it, and I'm teaching people how life really works. So my goal with this book is to really, and have growing the business is fun too. But really what I love is when this book is to change people's lives and get there, because once you get this, it's so easy to start making money and have a positive impact and positive relationship. And so many people are like struggling, and they don't need to be. And they're moments from like freedom. So the goal with the book is really to just help put a tool in people's hands where they can do this on their own and transformation.
Pre-sale on this book is late November 2021?
Yeah, the bigger pre-sale starts on Bigger Pockets website on Black Friday.
Black Friday, beautiful.
Not a big fan of Black Friday, but that's when it starts. The publishing, I think it goes into print in February, and then it'll be in Amazon, I think, in April.
Let me ask this. We only have a few minutes left. I want to be respectful of your time here, but do you, in writing a book is a big endeavor, right? There's a lot of work. I think of book, and maybe this is my frame. I have to reframe the thought of this, but I think of book, and there's work to be done, right? You have to, think of the flow, the chapters, the content, editors, publishers, all that good stuff. Can you maybe, as an example of what you're talking about, how did you ensure, or maybe writing a book for you was just like completely in flow? I don't know, but how did you ensure that you didn't encounter resistance along the way with this book? Did you hire certain people? Did you do certain things a certain way? Was it a navigation? You just kind of like stumbled down the road, and whatever pockets of resistance you hit, you pivoted from? I'm kind of curious if you can give an example of in this process how that matches with what you're doing and what you've done.
Well, I had an amazing co-writer named Bonnie who helped me kind of dissect it. So I basically would created all the content, dictated it, and rewrote it, and she helped piece it together. It's funny, I struggled to put it in the right syntax. I had it all out there, but she did an amazing job of helping put the sequences of stuff together. So it wasn't ghostwritten, it was more like co-written. There wasn't a lot of resistance to this book, but here's another sidestep that's going to take us more than a few minutes. But if you're okay with that, I'll tell the story.
I'm good.
JDC told me to do it.
JDC?
So what I mean by the JDC, Jason Drees Coaching.
Oh, geez, gotcha. Yep,
JDC, Jason Drees Coaching, the entity, told me to write the book.
Meaning you're saying like whoever you have as the chief operating officer, right?
No. I talked to the business entity. Here's another lesson I've had in how to connect with your business. I've discovered, what I've found is our businesses have their own lives. A business is a thing. It has energy, right? And one of the places that most entrepreneurs struggle, especially when they're growing, especially when it comes to leverage, is they're working. They've got a job. Here's my job, fits in here, right? And my job fits in here. And all of a sudden I've got more job than I can handle. So I'm like, hey, will you want to help me do my job? Yeah, okay, so here's what you do. Come over here. Okay, stand here, and you put your hand right here. You hold that half, I'll hold this half, right? So basically, you're getting other people to help you do your job, right? Here's a better visual. So you're actually got your business, you're lifting it up, right? So here's my business, and I'm holding it up, and I've got it to this level, and I'm like, oh my God, it's doing great. I need somebody to come in. Okay, you want to come work for me? Okay, come over here. Okay, put your hand here. No, you got to put your thumb here. Okay, now put your feet out. Okay, and this is how you hold it. Okay, I'm going to give you half, right? And that's how most people start their business, and they get to leverage. And what I realized is that I was treating the business like a job, and I had this breakthrough that JDC is actually its own entity that I work for. And I made this crossover point when I hired my first employee of, instead of like trying to micromanage him and tell him how to do the job, I hired him and decided that person needs to ramp up. They need to have a ramp like I do. They need to learn how to do it. And I value their unique contribution to the business because we both work for JDC. And the second I did that, I literally let go of JDC and I gave it to the next person. And I winced because I thought it was going to drop to the floor. But what actually happened is when I let go, it flew up in the air. And the next month, our sales doubled without any different action, because what action that happened is I thought I was going like this, and I was actually holding it down because I was restricting the growth of the business because on my bandwidth, I was at capacity and I was emotionally stopping it. So what I do now is I just imagine JDC. I say, hey, what do you have to tell me? And it said to me before, I want to grow. I want more people. In March of this year, I said, JDC, what do you want? And JDC said, I want a book. In October, I said, JDC, what do you want? He says, I want you to take a break. And I had a period where the team was growing and I was doing less work. And recently I asked JDC, what can you show me? And JDC said back to me, are you ready?
How do you create that? I'm just trying to think of all the lessons I've learned. This is a lot to unpack in one call. You're giving me
wait, listen to this part. Listen to this part. So end of 2019, I had 65 coaching clients. I launched the Mindset Academy. Like that was when JDC grew 10x in 90 days.
Yeah. Because
in 2019, we did I did by myself 100,000 in revenue. 2020, we broke $1 million, and we did 750 in Q4. Wow. So by the end of Q4, I'm brain dead. Like if you go back for Instagram, I literally, Elliot Smith reached out to me and he's like, are you okay? Your eyes, you don't look healthy, right? But it was just this crazy flow capacity of growth. Yeah. I'm on this sales meeting. I'm on this internal team meeting with a couple people on my team, end of January, and I'm still cuckoo from last quarter. And in that meeting, the two people on my team gave me the future vision of JDC. And I got off the call and I was like, yes, that is exactly it. That is where we're going. That's what it's going to look like. And then I got off the call and I was like, how the hell did the people on the team give me the vision to my business? And it was in that moment that I realized that because I allowed JDC to be its own entity, and I allow and expect the people on my team to contribute their own personal ideas and perspectives and energy to the business, at that point in time, the two people on my team were more in alignment with the entity JDC than I was. Wow. And they got the vision, not me. And because it's not about ego, I was fine with that. And that's when I realized that when I let go of that entity, then everyone on the team can connect to it and get inspired and get amazing content. And it's all not, because otherwise I'm the bottleneck. Wow. So treat your business like it's its own entity.
You got me thinking, my friend. I got some work to do as soon as we get off this call because I think I'm creating a bottleneck, like with Emerge, right? The Emerge program that we have with GoBundance. I run that. That's my business, if you will. And the growth of that, I think, is in large part, as you talk about it. Similarly, that's what I do. That's what I did. I'm going to create this thing. I got a lot of work.
Right, you're holding it up, right? You're like, don't let go, don't let go.
Put your hand here. Do it like that.
No. Your toe needs to be out, right? Lower back, abs tight, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But bringing in the right people and allowing it to operate and looking at it as its own entity and just listening to it. I can actually see this because as I sit here right now, like, what would it say? Like, it would say this. I know exactly what it would say, right? I know exactly what this business would say. As some may feel like that, okay, you're talking to like a business that's weird. I know exactly what you mean because I can hear what the needs of it are. When you create something to any size, there's needs that it has, like anything. It's an entity, and to listen to it is so insightful. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
And when you allow people to contribute to it, you attract amazing people.
I like that.
Everybody tells us the amazing team you have. It's just, and I have amazing people on my team because and this is another thing, like I've got 9 tips to hire an amazing team I came up with yesterday, which was, make it hard for them to leave, pay them more than their role is worth, welcome all input, be transparent, give lots of opportunities, let them learn to ramp up, feel for fit, and fix all the problems in your previous companies in this one. Right. So there's another one here. I just came up yesterday. I just shared that, but it's when you treat it that way, people show up versus the type of people show up to be micromanaged.
Wow, man. Wow. There's that. Yeah. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this before we release it again, because there's so much here to think about. Like, I'm asking questions now. Like, this is one of those interviews. Every so often I do one where I forget there's even an audience. Like, I'm just truly just like, okay, all right, tell me this now. Well, how about this? How about that? Wow. And that's what this was for me. So I really appreciate you. We didn't do anything like on the normal scope of the podcast. I don't even know if I want to ask you the card question. Maybe I will real quick before we break, but all right, real quick. So let's just make sure that we've got everything out there. Do the Impossible. Pre-sale starts on biggerpockets.com on Black Friday 2021. You've got an event coming up in December, and I think you also have another something that you're releasing maybe early next year, early 2022. Do you want to talk about those real quick?
Yeah, my live event is the Do the Impossible live event. This 3-day, December 11th through the 14th. It's in Bee Cave, Texas, which is about 20 minutes outside of Austin. So if you want to not just learn, but master all of this stuff that I'm talking about, that live event, by the end of day 3, you will have mastered and integrated all of it. So you should go. Like, Jamie, you should go.
I know. I hear you talking to me.
So you should go. But there's the level of alignment there that happens with other people is just through the roof because you get immersed in it. So and then also I do a group coaching program called the Mindset Academy, where you get bits and pieces of this every single week on a regular basis. And we're the next version of that is launching on January 1, 2022. And then I also do what I call a 10X group. And the 10X group is like a group coaching program that's coached by me and my team members / mastermind / peer group. So it's kind of like a coached mastermind founded on these principles of JDCs that we use of doing the impossible things. So if you want to move into a collective unit with other entrepreneurs who are performing at a high level and play in this space, the 10X group is for you.
Okay. I'll forego the question from the card game because I want to make sure that all of this can be found somewhere. So what's the best place for folks to go and like look this up? Website, Instagram handle, whatever you want to share. What's the best place?
JasonDreesCoaching.com.
Simple as that. DREES. We'll put that in the show notes as well for folks out there that are looking to partake and learn more about what you do. But man, like I said, the results, at least two guys, at least Brandon being one, you've seen a rocket shot of a hockey stick like ascension, and they correlate it back to spending time with you and growing with the coaching that you provided. So lots of great value. And I got to look at my calendar now for December 11th to 14th. So might have somewhere to be. Might have somewhere to be.
It will change your life. It absolutely will. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you being on. Thanks for staying over a little bit and pouring so much knowledge into me and into all of us. So I appreciate you.
You're welcome, Jamie. And it was great to be here.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know down in the comments, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can be informed on the next episode and other content right here on this channel. Thank you.